Everyone wants to be an online fitness coach. No one wants to actually get in the trenches and learn how to sell high ticket online fitness coaching. They don't believe it's possible. They think the niche is oversaturated. They don't think they can make a lot of money doing it. I'm here to tell you that's all wrong. I've literally sold over $500,000 across my entire career as a personal trainer. I've been a personal trainer since I was 18. I'm 22 now. Worked in person for 3 years. And then the past 2 years I've been online selling higher ticket online fitness coaching. Here's a picture of me looking like a tool in Costa Rica, but this was pretty cool. I got to take my whole family out. It was the first time they've ever been out of the country. And then here's my wife and I. And so the proof is in the pudding. You can sell high ticket fitness coaching, but a lot of guys just do it wrong. They don't make as much money as they should. They don't know how to sell. They lose out on sales. And so what this video is going to cover is how to sell high ticket coaching and really how to reframe your mindset when it comes to selling coaching in general. Now, before we get into my kind of process and how I like to think about sales, I want to go over 3 rules that have really helped me in the process of selling. Again, I've been doing this for 4 years, so I have a pretty good grasp on things. I'm not an expert by any means, but I genuinely understand, what the sales framing should look like specifically when it comes to fitness coaching. Now, number one, the first reframe I want to offer is you're not sitting across the table from your client or your prospect. I'm sure you guys have heard this one before, but it's especially true when you're selling online fitness coaching or just fitness coaching in general, because it is a very emotional process. I want you guys to think that you're sitting on the same side of the table as your prospect, and the only purpose of the sales call is not to get them to buy from you, not to convince them to buy from you. It's none of that. It's to sit on the same side of the table, of them, and help them get clarity on the decision that they're trying to make in their health and fitness. Okay. Obviously, they wouldn't be on the call if they didn't think you would provide some sort of clarity. So sit on the same side of the table, look at everything, look at their life, look at what they've struggled with, and we'll get into that more. Look at all of that and help them make a decision. That's your only purpose, is just to help them take action and make a decision. Hopefully it's with you, and hopefully you can make a lot of money doing that. But that's the ultimate purpose of the sales call. Now, number 2 is slowing down to speed up. What I mean by this is you need to sit there and really listen and make sure your prospect knows that you're listening, and make sure that they feel heard. A lot of the times, and this comes with scripted selling, guys will rush through the questions that they're asking. They want to get to the end of the call. They want to get to the pitch, and then they kind of sloppily get into the pitch, and then they wonder why their clients are saying, I need to think about it. You need to make sure your clients feel heard. Excuse me, I keep saying clients. You need to make sure your prospects feel heard. You need to understand that the goal of the call is to help them make a decision, to help them get clarity. And if they don't feel like you've heard their problems, what they've been struggling with, first and foremost, no matter how good your product is, they're not going to buy from you, and they're not going to hire you as their fitness coach. So you need to sit there and make sure you have a great understanding of where they're at and what they've been struggling with. More importantly, you need to make sure they know that you do. So slow down to speed up. We'll get into that more when we talk about scriptless selling, but make sure you're really listening to your prospect and their problems and what they've been struggling with. Now, number 3, and this is one that threw me off a lot in the beginning of selling fitness coaching. You're not going to ask a wrong question. And I think this comes from a lot of guys who think they have to follow the perfect script, or that there's some perfect word track that they're going to follow and instantly close clients. It's never about the script. It's never about having the right objection handling framework. It's never any of that stuff. There's no wrong questions you're going to ask. As long as you genuinely have a good heart, you're there to help them make a decision. And more importantly, you're there to understand their problem. This mindset shift has allowed me to reduce sales call anxiety, have way more fun on my sales calls, and close higher deals, because I'm of the understanding that I'm not going to ask a wrong question. I'm here to sit with you, and I want to ask you questions and truly, genuinely understand your situation. And then if I can help you, I'm going to plug myself into where you're at and help you overcome the things that you've been struggling with and solve the problems that you've been struggling with. And so you're never going to ask a wrong question as long as you remain genuinely curious and you have your prospect's best interest in mind. So those are the 3 things I want you guys to immediately shift about the way you think about your sales calls. I'm not saying that's going to instantly make them perfect. You still need to take more calls. You still need to do a high amount of volume and just get used to talking to people and identifying common patterns in what people say, common problems they're struggling with. But those are 3 reframes that are going to make your sales calls feel a lot smoother and honestly a lot more natural. Robotic sales calls are never going to get you anywhere. That's what's going to lead to commission breath. It's going to kill deals. You're never going to close clients if you are very robotic and scripted in your process, because they've heard this before. They're not interested in that. They're interested in someone who can listen and understand and solve their problems. And so the typical sales call for a fitness coach is very scripted. It's A to B to C to D. Okay, your prospect shows up, chit chat a little bit. You ask your first question, and while they're talking, you kind of have your second question lined up, and then they say a bunch of stuff, but the whole time you've been thinking about that next question you're going to ask. And so then when they're done talking, you just kind of go into the next question. That doesn't make your clients feel heard. They don't feel appreciated. Keep saying clients, prospects. That doesn't make your prospects feel heard. Doesn't make them feel appreciated. It doesn't make you even seem like an expert. It makes you seem like you're just trying to get through the script and close the sale, because that's honestly what you're doing. And so you kind of slop through and you ask questions. You're not really listening. And then you get to the end of the call, and then you realize 45, 50 minutes have gone by and you need to move into your pitch. So then you pitch, and then the prospect tells you, I need to think about it. It's too expensive, et cetera, whatever smoke screen they want to give you. None of that stuff is true. When you follow a very scripted process, you're going to get objections. And the scriptless selling framework I'm about to show you, the one that I use, is how you can, number one, pre-handle objections, but number two, make sure you never come across objections in the first place. Objections because your prospect doesn't feel like you've listened to their problems effectively, and they don't feel like you've given them enough clarity to make a decision. If you knew you were going to start something and get exactly where you wanted to go, you would have no hesitation about starting. The only problem you'd have to figure out is, maybe how they're going to pay or how they can break it up to fit their budget most effectively. That should be the only issue you're running into. And we'll get into that framework is honestly how I preface my prospects when they hop on the call. My prospect gets on the call. Of course, we're going to, banter a little bit. I'm going to warm them up. I want them to feel comfortable on the call. I want them to feel, at home, if you will, but they're going to get on the call. And then when we're transitioning into our conversation about health and fitness, when I say, hey, today, really what I want to do is I want to get a good understanding of where you're at. I want to get a better understanding of where you want to go. And rather than talking about any tactical solution that we could put in place, we both know how to count calories and that we need to lift weights. That's obvious. I want to talk about why it's important to you and what you've been struggling with and how we can hopefully overcome some of those things on this call so that you can have clarity about how to get where you want to go. Sound fair? That's exactly what scriptless selling should be. You should be curious and you should be listening to your prospect and you should be trying to understand where they're at. And so how this looks and how I like to think about it in my head, I'm a very visual person, is not just A to B to C to D. It's A, maybe we spend a long time at A, right? They give me something and we go deep into it. And then we go to B and maybe they don't give me that much. I don't really have any good questions to ask. I don't really want to spend time harping on something that they're not really too in tune with. I want to make sure we're aligned at all times so we don't go as deep. And then C, maybe we go super deep. Maybe they told me that the reason that they want to lose 30 pounds is because their kid put their head on their belly and said it's getting bigger. And that really stuck with them because they're insecure about their weight. And then I can go into, why is that such a big deal to you? Obviously, I know that's a big deal, but why does that impact you so much? And then they'll go deep into that. I'll go to D from there. Maybe they don't give me too much at D, and then I'll go to C and I'll pull everything that we just talked about together and I'll ask them, kind of nail in the coffin question is how I like to think about it. What do we need to do to overcome this? How much longer do you want to struggle with this? But that only comes after we've had a very long, in-depth conversation, not just asking as many questions as possible, but asking the right questions, listening to what they say, and going deep on what they're telling me. That nail in the coffin question can only come after we have a conversation like that. And so what scriptless selling allows you to do is it allows you to be genuinely curious. It allows you to be human. And more importantly, it allows your prospect to know that you have their best interest in mind because you receive their problems, you're listening, and they feel understood. And more importantly, when they feel that and you have a good idea not only what their goals are, but what has held them back in the past and what limiting beliefs they hold about their situation, they're going to trust you to be their coach. And that's what you're getting paid to do. You're not getting paid to count calories and tell them to lift this much and tell them to drink this much water. You're getting paid to have these conversations that nobody else is willing to have with them. And so the scriptless selling framework can still use all of the same relative frameworks as a scripted sales sequence. But what's important you do in scriptless selling that you don't get in scripted selling is that you're sitting there and you're listening and you're going deep on what they're telling you because you truly want to understand. If you don't understand where your prospect is at, then you can be sure that they have no idea where they're at either. And they're still stuck with the limiting beliefs that they've always been struggling with. And that's why they're not where they want to be. Your job is to take them, listen to them, receive what they're saying, know where they want to go, and help them to verbalize what they've been struggling with so that they can overcome those limiting beliefs. So I hope that's clear. If you guys want more in-depth approach on what my sales process actually looks like, and this video gets, a good amount of engagement, a good amount of comments, a good amount of reviews, I'll drop some of my sales calls on here so you guys can see this process live with my clients who are obviously now my clients went from prospect to client. And I'll make some more videos on this topic, but I hope that helps, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see those kind of videos or you want more ideas or videos about scaling an online fitness business in the oversaturated niche that it's in, drop a comment below. Love you guys. Peace.